Yep. Hello, everybody. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. Today, we're going to start off with a weather update because this weekend we are facing the possibility of more severe weather that, especially in the westernmost region of Kentucky, could be dangerous. We've made it through so much. We've also lost so many lives to tornadoes and multiple rounds of flooding. We don't want to lose anyone else. So we want to make sure that everybody gets the information they need to stay safe. We need everyone to take time to prepare for possible bad weather and make their plans again to stay safe. Let's start with the first slide. On Friday night, we're going to see strong non thunderstorm winds. They're expected late Friday afternoon through Friday night. Wind gusts in excess of 40 miles an hour are likely, especially after midnight Friday night. A line of strong to severe storms will move eastward across Kentucky on Friday night into early Saturday morning. The greatest risk, if you look at this map, is in far western Kentucky. If you'll go back to the last one, please. In far western Kentucky, the red that you see on that map, which is a 4 out of 5 in the severity index, is pretty rare. We're going to talk about that at the end. But especially that red means that we need to be very careful and very ready for this storm. The primary threats are damaging winds, brief tornadoes, and isolated hail. Now, if we'll go to the next one. All right, this is Saturday afternoon and evening. So we've gone through Friday. This is Saturday. We're going to see gusty winds in excess of 40 miles an hour. Severe weather potential midday Saturday into the evening, and this threat is increased. Remember, where these storm systems hit can change as we get closer. How severe they're expected to be can change as we get closer. So we're talking about the possibility of damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes on Saturday. We may see 1 to 3 inches of rain that may lead to minor flooding. Let's look at that rain on the next slide. So this shows that we are going to have multiple rounds of rainfall Friday night through Saturday night that could bring up over 3 inches in some areas by the end of Saturday night. Heavy rainfall rates and thunderstorms will increase flash flooding potential Saturday afternoon and evening. Remember, in this last flooding, we had both flash flooding and then riverbank flooding. So we see the potential in this system for flash flooding and then a minor flooding chance on the Green River downstream of Munfordville by early next week. That's the only riverbank flooding that we're tracking at the moment. All right, let's go to the last weather slide. This is what I mentioned off that first slide. This is that dark red, that 4 on the 1 to 5 severity scale over Western Kentucky, especially Friday night going into Saturday morning. This is serious, and we know this 2 days in advance, which is uncommon. We're talking about a widespread, long-lived storm. We have multiple ways to get weather warnings, so please stay alert and seek shelter immediately when warnings are issued. This tells you a little bit of the history on how rare a 4 is and how seriously we should take it. The last time we had one of these moderate risk outlooks was May 26th of 2024 and March 31st, 2023. Which ended up missing us, I believe, by just a little bit on that one. So everybody be careful, know it's coming, and make preparations. All right, we also have updates on our ongoing response to the recent flooding in eastern Kentucky. First, we've received approval for public assistance for some additional counties, if we could put those up. All right, a significant number of additional counties that can receive public assistance. This can help with public infrastructure. It means FEMA comes in and covers a percentage of the costs. Think about to counties, to cities, and to state infrastructure in these counties. This now gets us to almost a third of all of our counties that have qualified for public assistance. That shows you how widespread this disaster has been, how much damage it's caused, and later, if we get into the discussion, how the current SAFE Act going through the state legislature is not sufficient. Again, this isn't just one region that's been hit. It's about a third of our counties. And if there aren't sufficient funds, it means these counties are going to end up carrying the costs of cleaning up the damage for a significant period of time before FEMA comes in, because we won't have the ability as the state, if we run out of money, to provide that help. Our expedited major disaster declaration remains in 14 counties. These counties are the ones that have both public and individual assistance. They are on the screen. They're the same 14 from last week and I think the week before. As of March 12th, FEMA's approved more than $18.8 million in assistance to more than 3,000 Kentucky households. More applications are being processed daily. The dollars are flowing, and we are hearing less complaints overall, certainly, than we did in 2022. It seems like everybody's working really hard to try to make the experience better this time. FEMA personnel are visiting the 14 affected counties to help homeowners and renters apply with FEMA and quickly identify and address immediate and emerging needs. They can also provide application status updates and referrals to additional resources. There are now 11 disaster recovery centers open. They're on the screen. Remember, this is where you can come in. You can talk to FEMA. You can talk to the SBA. You can talk to our state groups that are in there. If you're having trouble with your application, go to one of these centers and talk to people in person. It seems that the folks are trying to be as helpful as they can, but looking somebody in the eye and working through every concern in an application, we see it yields better results. It gets more yeses coming out of FEMA and hopefully more dollars in the pockets of our Kentucky families that need help on rebuilding. This information changes over time, so you can visit our website on the screen for any updates. Good news on state highways. We're down to only 8 closed due to flooding. They are in western Kentucky. We're down to 6 closed due to rock slides and mudslides. Some of those, while we say closed, are one lane at the moment. When we look at assessing roads and bridges, again, that was helped in the last 2 natural disasters by the SAFE funds. We have more than 600 reports of damage to state highways thus far. We performed 213 bridge inspections. They're all safe, but 19 are going to require follow-up to identify repairs, and as many as 95 have been impacted by debris. We recently received approval to accept applications for disaster unemployment assistance for individuals in those 14 counties who are out of work as a result of the severe storms beginning on February 14th. The deadline for disaster unemployment assistance is April 25th, 2025. We also just learned on Wednesday that we've been approved for a 2-day extension for the Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This is food assistance for those that have been impacted by the natural disaster. It's called DSNAP. As of March 10th, we've had 2,565 applications. 466 households have already been approved, covering 1,699 Kentuckians. The average benefit is $660. Folks living or working in the 14 counties affected that qualify for DSNAP may apply for assistance through March the 14th. I think that is tomorrow. So make sure that you see and you get your applications in before that deadline. Kentuckians can also apply by following the directions on the screen. There's both a number and you can visit any of the DCBS local offices. Those receiving SNAP benefits also have until March 17th to apply for a replacement of benefits due to power outages if you lost the food that you purchased with your SNAP benefits or other impacts. And finally, those receiving SNAP or DSNAP in the approved counties can purchase hot prepared food at approved retailers with their benefits in the 14 counties and the 15 bordering counties until March 27th. Those counties are on the screen. As another reminder, the U.S. Small Business Administration approved disaster loans for 22 counties. Applications for disaster loans can be submitted using the My SBA Loan portal at lending.sba.gov, or you can visit one of the disaster recovery centers. We also have a phone number on the screen and other contact information. The deadline to apply for an SBA disaster assistance loan is April 25th. The deadline for economic injury applications, which is slightly different, is November 24th. An update on our parks. They are sheltering 244 people at 5 state parks, occupying 97 rooms. Additionally, Jenny Wiley's campground is sheltering 34 people in travel trailers. Now I want to wrap up the flood recovery update by thanking those who are continuing to step up and help others. I want to applaud the Kentucky Emergency Management and FEMA for working together to request the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to be at 2 of the DRC, the Disaster Recovery Center locations. This has allowed us to assist our veterans specifically in recovering from this event. This is the first time our emergency management team has made this request, so thank you to Director Gibson and everybody involved. The action shows that our Kentucky values of helping our veterans and our commitment to helping our neighbors. The VA team tells us that together we've helped 107 veterans and their families that were affected by these floods. And they've connected with over 200 community members and stakeholders in this work to help our veterans and their families. Okay, so today I'm also excited to announce more investment in our tourism industry. Kentucky tourism is booming. The last 2 years we have the numbers for were the best years on record. In other words, we broke the all-time record, and then we broke it the next year. And I am certain when we get in the numbers for last year, we'll have broken the all-time economic impact for tourism for 3 straight years. We've continued to celebrate win after win, and I want to thank the hard work of everybody in our tourism and hospitality industries. Building on our new Kentucky Home Initiative, today I'm happy to announce the state has awarded $543,374 in grant funding to 19 trail town communities. These grants will help improve, enhance, and promote projects that boost the quality of life in local communities while attracting visitors near and far. Our Trail Town Grant Award recipients include Brownsville, Burkesville, Campbellsville, Cave City and Horse Cave, Dawson Springs, Hazard, Jamestown, Liberty, Manchester, McKee, Munfordville, Olive Hill, Park City, and Stearns. Each of those cities are receiving $30,000. Hyden will receive more than $29,700. Irvine and Ravenna will be getting more than $27,000. Livermore, more than $26,000. Elizabethtown, more than $25,000. And Pikeville will get $15,000. This funding is going to benefit a lot of communities. You're going to see new benches, kiosks, and some much-needed trail maintenance that creates a safer experience. In Brownsville, they're planning on improving waterway access with new ADA-compliant, accessible launch ramps. We have a video from Vanessa Ohm with the Brownville Trail Town.
Brownsville was designated as a trail town in 2019. And ever since then, we have seen that uptick in the outdoor adventure seekers. The Evanston County Tourism Commission is extremely grateful for the Team Kentucky grant we have received for our trail town. We think it is going to do wonders for what we can do for our trail town, because we're looking at how do we make trails safer? How do we make sure people know that we have these trails? We have an abundance of trails, not just hiking. We have mountain biking, cycling, horseback riding, canoeing, kayaking. You could even go ATV riding on trails. So when you're here, we would love for you to be able to come to a central location, see everything that we have to offer, plan your trip, and then be able to get out on the trails.
These Kentucky trail towns work hard to create unforgettable experiences, share their unique stories, and highlight the beauty of our Commonwealth. I'm excited to see how these communities will continue to provide these new and incredible experiences and show off the best of our new Kentucky home. This month, we're also taking time to recognize and share our appreciation for Kentucky's school social workers. Social workers see our kids during the toughest of moments. They know better than anyone about the challenges that Kentucky families face. These folks are our boots on the ground doing the work every single day to create a positive environment in our schools. They look out for our children and they connect them to the resources they need to thrive because every Kentucky child and every Kentucky family deserves a chance to succeed. It's tougher than ever to be a kid right now. But through our social workers' work, they've served the lost, the lonely, and the left behind. This enormously important work is so critical, and I want to personally thank each and every one of them for what they do every day. Our school social workers are a lifeline to those in need, but for far too long, they've not been valued like the lifeline they are, which is why I've consistently pushed for pay raises for all of our educators. We've also worked to secure multiple raises for our state social workers. So today, I'm proud to recognize our school social workers and their work to give every Kentucky kid a chance at success by proclaiming March as School Social Work Month in Kentucky. Today, we're joined by some special guests from the Kentucky Association for School Social Work. Come on up. I think we have Tish Brookins and Lynetta Crawford, certified district school social workers for Jefferson County Public Schools, and Tanya Branch, a mental health specialist for Fayette County Public Schools, proud Fayette County Public School graduate. Thank you all very much for what you do. You want to turn it around? You want to offer some words?
Yes,
Please.
thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the Kentucky Association for School Social Workers, we are excited and we extend our deepest gratitude to you, Governor Beshear, for recognizing School Social Work Month and the invaluable role school social workers play in the lives of Kentucky students and families. Your recent journey to Selma to commemorate Bloody Sunday underscores the deep ties between social justice and the work that we do every day. The bridge in Selma represents more than history. It is a call to action, reminding us that justice, equity, and advocacy remain at the heart of our profession. Just as those who marched before us fought for the fundamental rights of all people, school social workers in Kentucky continue to champion the rights of students and families, ensuring access to education, mental health support, and resources they need to thrive. As educators, advocates, and problem solvers, school social workers navigate challenges that impact student success. From poverty and trauma to mental health and family stability, we are honored to stand with you today to reaffirm our commitment to social justice, equity, and the well-being of every child in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Governor Beshear, for your leadership and for recognizing the essential work school social workers play. Together, we are building stronger schools, stronger families, and a stronger Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you all. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. I hope all our school social workers know that you are appreciated, admired, and respected, and we'll keep fighting for you and with you. All right, next I want to remind Kentuckians about some exciting events that we have coming up in April at the Capitol. First, on Sunday, April 13th, we'll have our annual Easter egg hunt. It is a ton of fun. We have a huge amount of kids. We have the Easter egg hunt on the back lawn between the Capitol and the Annex, and it's amazing when that whistle goes off to see hundreds of kids in just pure joy enjoying the moment. We'll have the Easter Bunny. We'll have face painting and food trucks. It's a special day, and we hope as many folks will come out and join us as they can. Then next on Saturday, April 26th, we have our Team Kentucky Derby kickoff with Common Fest. This has grown every year, and it's the way that we in Frankfort kick off the Derby week. The event will take place on the south lawn of the Capitol, though I think it actually wraps around the Capitol into one of our parking lots too. It goes from noon to 5 p.m. on April 26th. It has live music, vendors, food trucks, breweries, wineries, and craft distillers. It has artists, a farmer's market, games, activities, balloon artists, and so much more. Last year, we had a great crowd. We had wonderful weather last year, so I hope everybody will come out and enjoy. And finally, for our Team Kentucky All-Stars, this month is Women's History Month. I'm fortunate to have been surrounded by so many strong, amazing women in my life. From my mom and former First Lady, Jane Beshear, to my wife and partner in all things, our current First Lady, Brittany Beshear, to an amazing daughter who at 14 keeps me on my toes every single day, but her strength is incredible. To my friend and your Lieutenant Governor, Jacqueline Coleman, and so many more. On Monday, we got to celebrate amazing women from across the Commonwealth at the Kentucky Commission on Women Women's History Month celebration. At this event, we unveiled the portraits of 4 new women to be included in the Kentucky Women Remembered exhibit. This is a collection of portraits in the Capitol that celebrate our women leaders. When Jacqueline and I took office, it had been 10 years since anybody had been added to that exhibit. We knew that we had to make sure it never went that long again. What we choose to hold in a place of honor in our Capitol demonstrates our values, what we believe in, and who we celebrate. And here in Kentucky, we recognize the incredible contributions of women to the Commonwealth. On Monday, we unveiled the portraits of Alberta Jones, one of the first African-American women to pass the bar exam and the first woman appointed city attorney in Jefferson County. Ada Limon, the 24th Poet Laureate of the United States. Amanda Matthews, a sculptor from Louisville, and she's no stranger to this Capitol. She's the artist behind the Nettie Depp statue, as well as the COVID memorial. And finally, Kim Michelle Richardson, the author of so many New York Times bestsellers, like The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. She also participates in so many different philanthropic and other activities throughout the Commonwealth. I'm so proud that each of these women will have their portrait hung in the Capitol for so many to come through and to learn about the great leadership that they've showed. I'm proud to name these 4 women as this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. Their portraits will be a daily reminder for current and future generations of what it means to be an outstanding Kentucky woman. All right, with that, we will open it up to questions. We got a whole bunch of journalists here and none on the line. So we'll start with Austin.
Thank you, Governor. Wanted to ask about House Bill 495. That's the one that was changed yesterday to ban Medicaid funding for any gender-affirming care. One, what's your position on that? And then 2, what's the current status? It seems like there's some uncertainty and not clarity.
So that's the bill that
Republicans of Medicaid funding for those services currently and in the recent.
So that's the bill that also tries to undo the executive order banning conversion therapy. Listen, conversion therapy has been discredited by every major medical organization that's looked at it. It significantly increases the chances of suicide amongst our LGBTQ plus youth. It is equivalent of torture, and we should not be allowing it to happen here in the Commonwealth. Those are children of God that deserve our protection when something like conversion therapy has been so discredited, and there's so much data showing how harmful that it is. So like we see happen so much in the General Assembly, legislators then took a bill that was about one thing, and without any notice to the committee that would have to vote on it, and typically without many hours to review it on the floor, change it to either add something else or make it about something else. It completely lacks in transparency, and it doesn't give the public the time to come and to be a part and to make their voices heard. Listen, if you think you're passing the right things, you don't have to hide it. And it's time to stop a lot of this shell bill and committee substitute nonsense and embrace the people that elect you, and allow them to actually see a transparent process. In Medicaid, we allow medical experts to determine what is medically necessary. We don't determine someone's health care based on the politics of the day. To me, this is another example of the supermajority trying to stand in between a person and their doctor. And it adds on things done last year where they were saying, okay, well, adults should have certain abilities to make healthcare decisions. Well, they appear to be going back on those statements or those beliefs here. But again, people's health care shouldn't be determined by politics of the day. They should be determined by doctors, scientific expert, and what's medically necessary for them. McKenna.
Thank you, Governor. I wanted to ask about some changes in House Bill 5 rewards the Safe Fund bill. There's a slight change about how much money can be issued in a biennium. And given these changes, how do you feel about the bill now, and would you sign it if it comes through that?
Well, the current SAFE Act isn't enough and won't be enough. And what it's going to result in is counties or cities having to carry significant amounts of money they've had to pay out to help clean up or to repair their infrastructure, because it can take years before that FEMA money comes back in. What we were able to do in our SAFE funds is help counties not to suffer from that financial hardship because they were hit by a tornado or a flood. If you don't have enough money, you can't help all the counties. And we just showed you that almost a third of our counties have enough damage to qualify for public assistance from FEMA. And that is not a low bar. It means a lot of damage all over the Commonwealth. Now, the bill got a little bit better from where it originally was, because what they originally set is, for the first time in history, they set a cap on what we could spend to respond to a natural disaster, that we couldn't go further into a rainy day fund after we have a really rainy day. I believe we should have sufficient access to help our people after a natural disaster. But they'd set $50 million in this fiscal year and $50 million in the next. What they did is they opened up the next fiscal year so we can use it now. The problem with that is we've had 13 federally declared disasters since I become governor, right? We've had 13, so more than 2 a year. So we will run out of money, not just in responding to this natural disaster, but we won't have any that has been authorized and, in fact, has been limited and capped for the first time ever when we're hit by our next natural disaster. So here's the scenario. We're out of money and a natural disaster hits. And they might say, call a special session. I'm over at the EOC working with the National Guard and working with first responders trying to save lives, following what that next weather event's going to be, working in the immediate aftermath for search and rescue and sheltering. That's not the time where you can have 130 plus people in trying to, determine how much will need to be allocated when it's just happening right then. If you don't have access to funds to immediately respond to a natural disaster, more people are going to get hurt and more lives are going to get lost. This is a basic function of government, and we shouldn't be limiting it. But with that, if it adds more money to what we can do to help people right now, yeah, I'll sign it. In the end, my job is to help people as much as we can. And so while the bill isn't nearly enough, I'll sign it. My other concern is I believe people that were impacted by this flood deserve just as much help and love from their Commonwealth as those that were impacted by the 2021 tornadoes or the 2022 flooding. And this SAFE Act isn't doing that. What it is a statement that this General Assembly is not going to provide the same resources for these families that have been harmed as previous families. I think that's wrong. I hope that they will change it, whether it's in conference committee or otherwise, and provide the resources that'll be needed. Bodie.
Thank you, Governor. You're going to have a lot of bills on your desk by this weekend. Just some general thoughts on how things have gone this session, bills you know you like and bills that you know you don't like.
Well, we're seeing what's coming. I signed a couple of bills that I thought were positive for training for SANE nurses. We have sadly a Commonwealth where nearly 1 in 2 Kentucky women suffer some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Totally unacceptable. It means that there's so much we need to change, but part of it is making sure that we bring those to justice that would sexually assault or abuse our people. These two bills will provide more training to collect the evidence that's needed to do that when women who've experienced sexual assault show up, especially at the emergency room. So I think that was a good bill and a good resolution that's gone through. My biggest concern as the session is wrapping up is again what we have seen on committee substitutes. It is a process that we are seeing where 3 to 4 page bills instantly become 130-page bills, and they are pushed through without time for anyone to read them. And guess what? Normally, there are mistakes in them because the agencies that have to implement them haven't seen them. It means oftentimes the author hasn't even spoken to the group that's supposed to carry something out. Just think back to the sewer bill when things weren't happening as often as we now see. I mean, in 2018, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled in my favor against that Senate Bill 151. Remember, that was an 11-page sewer bill that became a 291-page controversial pension bill, and it was passed through in 6 hours. Now, let's see, we saw on Tuesday, Republicans took House Bill 775, a 4-page bill offering small changes to tax increment finance or TIF districts, and turned it into a 107-page bill that makes major changes to our state's core tax laws. Zero public input because of the way it was done, and zero public notice. I mean, that ain't right. We should have a system that people follow, that our legislature follows, where people can come in and make their voice heard. And again, if you're doing right, you can do it in a very transparent way. Carolina.
Governor, what are your thoughts on the legislature's efforts to add more clear language regarding medical reasons for abortion? Do you believe those efforts go far enough, or are they still falling short?
Well, listen, the efforts don't go far enough because we have one of the most restrictive, draconian abortion laws in the country, where victims of incest and rape have less options than their rapists, where decisions are taken away from a woman and her doctor. I believe that this one certainly doesn't go far enough. When this one reaches my desk, I'm going to have some questions because we were told by those that passed the trigger law originally that it provided an exception for the life of the mother. And now this bill is saying that it needs to be passed through law. So one question I'm going to have is it more or less restrictive than the current understanding in the medical community that we have right now? We need more access, and that's what I'll always push for. And things that provide more access, I'm likely to be supportive of. But no, not anywhere close to enough access for Kentuckians. In fact, even with this bill, it would be significantly less access than virtually every other state in the United States. Sylvia.
We saw a bill last night, Governor, that has a new committee substitute, but we've seen it before. It has to do with the state OSHA plan. Seems to roll back or restrict the state from implementing anything more stringent than federal minimums. What is your take on the bill, the new substitute that was put in last night that took away a few of the things that the original bill did? According to labor unions, they still have some concerns with it. What are your thoughts?
No, people should have concerns with it. We have at least 16 regulations that I think will be impacted that deal with how you deal with hazardous chemicals. You would think that we would want to have the best regulations with how you deal with hazardous chemicals. And there have been examples of people hurt, and that being the reason that regulation is in place, or of those that have violated the regulation and thus been hurt. This idea that we want to cede authority to regulators in Washington, D.C. is the exact opposite of what we're hearing out of the same party in Washington, D.C. Why don't we trust Kentuckians to protect Kentuckians? And if there are specific Kentucky regulations, then they can be brought up in the typical review process. Remember, the regulations that it would impact have been through a process where the legislature has looked at them and hasn't tried to disapprove them. And do we have Austin? Yeah.
Governor, the House gave final passage this morning to House Bill 4. It's the anti-DEI on colleges bill. Where do you stand on that? That'll come to your desk, and do you plan to veto that?
I believe diversity is a strength and never a liability. I will review the bill, but anything that is telling any of our Kentuckians that they are lesser than someone else, we shouldn't be doing. We should be welcoming people of all different backgrounds into our Commonwealth, encouraging, making more room at the table for more voices. That doesn't kick someone else out of being at the table. It just adds another chair that I think makes us a better Commonwealth. I'm also going to look very closely because I don't want it to undo gains we've made in post-secondary enrollment. We've had some of the biggest jumps in the country. And the way that we've done that is our universities have said, as we look out at our Kentucky populations, where do we see that not enough people are going to college? And then in areas and in places where they see not enough people are going to college, they do extra work. Now, that can just be smart business or smart recruiting. And we certainly don't want to impact the flexibility of our universities to do what they need to do, to have strong campuses that again, have those diverse voices and individuals that I think make us all better. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll be back.